So, what mindfulness means to me is to non apologetically allow myself to feel something in the moment. And kind of like an example of this is like when I'm having bad days, especially like anxious days. I just kind of like accept that it's a bad day and I'm feeling kind of anxious, so I can just like move forward. Um, and I just like, I let it be okay that that's how I'm feeling that day. Instead of just being like, oh, I wish I was having a bad day. Like, why do I feel this way today? I just kind of like accept it. Something from a presentation that stuck with me is that like you are not your thoughts. Like she kind of like did the whole like you guys are all like orange circles or something like that. And then like when she asked if like who was an orange circle, we all like raised our hands. And she's like, no, you're not. You're a person. Like you just like she was just saying like just because you're told to think that you're an orange circle doesn't mean like you are. And so I think that stuck with me because I think like the message there was just like um it prevents me from like letting my negative thoughts about myself like get me down, like just because I'm like thinking that I'm not worth it or like not pretty enough or whatever it is, like that doesn't mean that that's the case. It most likely isn't, because like I am not my thoughts. And I think that's like important to remember, especially on like days where you're kind of like hard on yourself. um how can I practice mindfulness? I kind of like I just think about like possibly meditating more. I don't really meditate very often. In the past, most of the time, like meditation kind of is like difficult for me to get a lot out of. I've never really been able to like connect during meditation, but the one that we did in class like with her was like the best meditation experience I've ever had. So maybe trying to like incorporate more mindfulness or like doing specific like mindfulness meditation might be helpful. But also like I don't always have to do like a full meditation to like use mindfulness every day. When I first learned about mindfulness in the beginning of the semester in another one of my classes, I've been trying to like incorporate it more into my life. And so like especially on my bad days, I try to at least do like some breathing exercises while like thinking about how I'm feeling and just like accepting it without judgment. So if I'm like having a bad day or like something's wrong and get to class, sometimes I just take like a minute or two before class starts to just like take some deep breaths and just like think about like what's wrong or like how I'm feeling and just like letting that be okay, and so I can just like move past it and like actually like sit there and learn. um and like how can I help the mindfulness trend spread? um I mean, I think it's just like pretty simple. It's just like sharing it with other people. So whether that's like what it means or like how you can do it, or um maybe like different TED Talks or different types of meditations, just like sharing that with like the people around you. I think that's really important. I started sharing like what mindfulness is and like how it can help people struggling with like some of my friends, especially like my girlfriend. Like I told my girlfriend what it was and like how to practice it, and I just thought it would be helpful because she gets very stuck on like how she was feeling and like bringing herself down with those negative thoughts. So I thought mindfulness can help her just kind of like accept those feelings and thoughts and just like moving back to a place of focusing on moving forward instead of just like sitting on those thoughts. So, um, so like what I think like when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. I think that just is kind of talking about like if we start to use a more positive and accepting outlook, like we'll view a more like positive world. So like if we tend to always view everything in like a negative way, then we'll have a more negative world. Like if we always try to like find the bad in things, we're only ever going to see the bad. But if we ever like just try to take that moment to see like the positive in things and situations, like we're going to see more positive more often. And if we don't, then that's when we see the more negative, and that world, like a negative one, would be much more upsetting instead of like joyful, and like that's not our goal. So